Welcome to this Italian...
Hello there.
Hello there.
What a
Potato. Welcome to this episode where we have a brand new Ducati Streetfighter V4S and a Ducati Panigale V4S. So on paper then, they're both similar spec.
Exactly, similar spec, similar chassis. It's all very similar. I mean, obviously you're paying £5 extra for a bit of carbon and the fairings and a bit more top end power and just a slightly, very slightly higher spec. But you know, is £5 worth a difference? Is it worth spending £5? Especially if you're just riding on the road. If it's just road riding, then this could be the puppy for you. But I mean, like I said, today's the day we're going to find out exactly that.
And I guess it's about the excitement factor, isn't it? Do you want to pull up to the cafe on that typical Ducati flair and sex appeal? I mean, that is a sexy bike, don't get me wrong. Or do you want a bit more comfort for the road? And again, UK roads, battered, absolutely horrible bastards. So it'll be an interesting day today, and let's go and find out what happens.
Streetfighter V4 or Panigale V4?
There's no carbon on that. I don't know why you keep saying carbon.
Right. Welcome aboard Panigale. One of, if not the most attractive motorcycles ever made, from the beautiful Italians down in Borgo Panigale. So obviously I've rode this is the 2020 V4S, which I rode earlier this year at the Bahrain circuit for some track testing. So this is the first time I've ridden it on the street. My opinions of the track side of it were it's a little bit softer, a little bit easier to ride than the model year 19, and the road's fucking closed. Fucking hell. Well, that scuppered our plans just because of that bloody bit of road, well, honestly. Anyway, yeah, so the track bike I thought was a lot softer than the model year 19, a lot easier to ride, a lot less fatiguing, and that's translated quite nicely onto the road because it was always a bucking handful, this bike, and now it's just had the corners rounded off a little bit. The suspension feels a bit plusher. I'm not going anywhere near race mode, by the way, because it's just pointless. These roads are so bumpy. The throttle response is too harsh, so I'm more than happy in sport mode. And again, being the electronic Öhlins suspension system, when you change modes, it automatically adjusts the riding mode as well, the suspension as well. These changes make more sense for the road than they do for the track. Even though it was about making it an easier bike to ride on track, it's now easier to ride on the road, marginally. But if you've ever spent any time on a V4 or any Panigale for that matter, they're not the comfiest things. They don't live at low RPM. You still get that chattery stuff like with the gearing in town, but it's a bloody superbike, you know, deal with it. Just look at it. Whoa, sexy. I mean, you feel like a badass riding it. And that is a big part of the charm of Ducati, is it's got that image, and that's what you're going to buy into as a customer. But out in the countryside, again, it's so fast. All superbikes are, but this one in particular is so fast that you've got to be very careful with your license, because it's very easy to just not look where you're going and suddenly you're doing silly speeds. But it does feel like you're going fast, which some of the other modern superbikes don't. The way it just sits into corners is so delicious. And actually, again, the way this mapping and the fueling has changed in the model year 20 bike this now at 4,000 RPM, cruising along. On the older bike, it would have been, you know, a bit choppy. This is so much easier to live with. Well, hang on, I wouldn't say so much easier to live with, but it's a lot easier to live with, and it's just becoming more and more refined. You know, Ducati have a habit of their first incarnation of a new era of superbike, 1098, 1199. They're always a bit rough around the edges, and then the next version, which is now this one for the V2 story, sorry, the V4 story, this has now got the refinement. And yeah, I can't wait to see what the course colours look like, which surely, if it goes to the same routine as the last bike, surely that's coming in a few months. On a sunny day like this, without having to carry backpacks and crap around, I can't think of many more motorcycles I'd rather be on than this. I'm tempted to buy one. I'm on the hook, gotta say. It's always nice to do a direct jump on, jump off comparison. We're very lucky to be able to do that. Oh, after a week on the Streetfighter, getting on this is uncomfortable. I mean, it's not necessarily an uncomfortable bike, but is that real? No. God. The throttle's more direct, and even in sport or race mode, this thing, the throttle's more direct, sort of surges a bit more. I mean, it's designed to do 200 mile an hour, not 20 mile an hour, so there's no point moaning about that. But just drawing comparisons between the two. You know, considering the rake and trail are exactly the same, and the swing arm is shorter on this, you know, those bars on the Streetfighter make a massive difference to turning. It just feels lighter. I mean, this is actually light. The Panigale is lighter, but the Streetfighter feels lighter. And my God, it's stiffer. Ugh. My balls. Now, I've never been part of the superbikes too much of the road brigade because I'm a sports bike nut, and you know, the throttle works both ways. It's as simple as that. If they make you feel good and you open up your garage, you get a boner, that's all you need. That's all you can hope for. But a direct comparison with that Streetfighter, oh, man, why would you want something more uncomfortable, more of a pain in the arse, more difficult to ride, with all the same benefits, the sound and everything else? I don't know, it's just tricky. Alright, Babs? Then again, you feed it roads like this, and this is when it makes sense. Obviously, first thing you notice is obviously position. My bum is suddenly intensely comfortable. I didn't notice it being uncomfortable on the Panigale, but now it definitely was compared to this squashy memory foam style mattress which my buttocks are now planted in. Again, on the road, you know, the wide bars, they make it so much easier to turn a bike into a corner, and you can just sort of flick around and have more fun. It's a more jolly bike, this. It's not quite as serious. I'm not intimidated by the power, and it's a bloody good road bike. It's a bloody good road bike. The gearbox, the gearing, the blipper, the electronics. It's lovely. Another benefit of being a naked bike on hot days such as this, I'm getting a lovely bit of airflow all through my body. It's just a nicer place to sit, and if you've got a partner, you can sling them on the back a lot easier. It's still not ideal, the pillion situation, but it's a lot nicer than a Panigale. Or likewise, if you want to do a trip or a tour, you've got some bit more luggageability. Is that the right word? Luggageability. I'm going to make it into a word. And it's just nice. You can be a bit, oh yeah, just let that torque drag you up the mountain. Beautiful. Play with those gears. Yummy. I think this last 2 minutes has convinced me. Oh yeah. Yeah, the gear ratios feel really nice and close together. It encourages you to just blat through the gearbox and use that torque. And listen to it purr. So this is in sport mode. I did earlier on go into race mode, but the throttle became really quite choppy and too intense, and the suspension was too hard. Sport mode is where it's at on this. It's it's definitely sporty enough, but it just gives you a little bit more comfort and control, a bit more grip, feels like. But on a country lane like this, why would you want to be on a superbike? Awful. Like that, it's just like bop, bop, bop. Really nice. It's actually a lot friendlier than I thought it would be. This is quite bumpy. there's a V4S behind me. I don't think he's enjoying this.
I can safely say this ain't the road for a Panigale V4, but it's real world, brother. You get me? It's real world. I've got to say, you know, all these tests and launches, they're all very well and good, but you know, it's not quite the UK country roads in Bahrain where this Panigale V4 was launched, the latest incarnation. It's definitely lost a bit of aggression and bite, but that's no bad thing. But that said, it's still an utter rampant slag. And if you want to look like a geriatric, morbidly obese Chaz Davis or Scott Redding, then there is no finer option, unless of course you want to go for the R, but that's another animal altogether. I don't think there's a 1000cc superbike or an 1100cc superbike in this case that gives you that emotional attachment of a Panigale V4. Everything about it, it's so involving. And yes, there are faster bikes over a lap time, and yes, some people might not want the wings, but there's nothing like this bike. It is utterly unique.
I mean, it's fast, don't get me wrong, it's fast, but it doesn't quite have that ballistic punch that the Panigale has, and I know it's been tuned and played with, and yeah, you may not want that ballistic punch, but if you're buying the top spec Streetfighter, which this arguably is, you kind of want it to have the insanity. Or do you? I don't know. I guess that's the question. Do you want... This is basically a soft, easy to ride Panigale. I think that's how I describe it. And it's not soft in the sense of it's a wuss. It's soft as in it's compliant. And you could easily jump on this all day long, all night long, all week long, and absolutely just enjoy yourself. And there's a lot to be said for that. Well done. Is it underwhelming? No, it's not underwhelming, but I don't know. I kind of quite like that it's not too mental. It makes it a much better all-round motorcycle.
Well then, what's the verdict, Chrissy? I mean, I think we've both got slightly different opinions. For me, it's a comprehensive, absolute yes. If I was going to buy a bike now, out of the two, I'd buy that, the Streetfighter.
It's a great bike. It's a great bike. But if I was going to spend my own money and buy my dream bike, my dream Ducati, it's got to be a Panigale. Even though I found this a better bike to ride today, the vanity in me,
the tart in you.
the tart.
Yeah.
But it's an Italian superbike.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not going to slag this around. It's still a nice bike. So therefore the uses will probably be the same, right? So therefore, yes, I'm going to be uncomfortable, but because I love the way it looks and it's a Panigale, I will probably put up with the pain of that, because it is painful.
Utter painful.
I mean, it's less painful than the older one.
Yeah. But even so, swap them into the wrists and your bum. I mean, that seat is beautiful.
It is amazing.
I've done, I'd say probably just today, I've done three and a half hours on that bike, and not once has my body gone, no.
Yeah.
It's one of the comfiest naked bike seats, let alone super naked or sports bike seats there is.
Any bike seat.
Yeah.
It's more comfortable than my GS seat.
Really?
Yeah. So as for which I'd buy, I would probably lean towards that. But, you know, as for what I want to go and spend the rest of the day on, today, it's that.
Yeah. It's so easy to ride. I mean, this is the first Ducati I've wanted to ride in town. There's no surging, there's no horrible throttle guffage, there's no stuttering, it's just seamless. And
whereas the Panigale is like,
Yeah.
hang on,
and even that is lots better than the old bike.
Absolutely.
So it's crazy. But like you said off camera, I don't think you can go to a track and be anywhere near as capable, obviously, as that. I mean, that is the ultimate Chaz Davis and Scott Redding wannabe, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, going back to when that was on track in Bahrain, it's a very capable track bike now. Obviously, we know it's one BSB, but you know, race bikes and road bikes are completely different. But that, even in that standard form, with that new Olin suspension on it and the electronic modifications they've done to it, it is, you know, I'm looking forward to if we even get out to do our big track test of the year, because it's a big difference.
Having ridden it now, I think it will be closer to the front lot than I thought it would be, and that's just riding on the road today.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. If
I mean, I think depending on where we go, I think that's, you know, definitely secured second, maybe first.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So obviously we're comparing a superbike and a naked bike, so they're not part of the same category, even though it's got the same engine parts and components and stuff like that. But I think from a Ducati owner's perspective, you're going to walk it, you know, Ducati has got probably the most dedicated brand followers in the world.
Along with BMW. Yeah.
Along with BMW. Very different markets.
Yeah.
But I think if you want a Ducati, you're just going to go in there and you're going to go, well, what's out of these two? It's not like, oh, I want a Super Naked or I want a V4. You're going to kind of, it has to be a Ducati. It has to be a Ducati.
Yeah.
You're not going to look at a Super Duke. You're not going to look at any of the Japanese stuff. Forget it. And you're probably not going to look at BMW. So, you know, in that sense, they are very valid choices for a Ducatisti to look at. I think they're going to sell a lot more of these.
I think I haven't ridden it. It surprised me. I think it will satisfy far more riders than I originally thought it would. I just thought it'd be an absolute. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a fluffy bunny in comparison with other Super Nakeds, but it's still bloody quick.
Yeah, and I think it's quicker than you think it is as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's because it feels so composed and so, dare I say it, slightly Germanic in a way. It's so good that it's like, oh shit, yeah, I'm pushing on a bit here, because it rewards the rider massively. So, you know, and again, that's why I've chosen to ride this tonight, and you can ride that.
Just going back to the ergonomics quickly, the geometry is pretty much the same. Yes, the wheelbase is longer on that, but just those bars and a slightly softer setup it just makes it so much more rideable, and you want to, you know, it's quicker steering. It feels more connected to the road, I think.
Less effort.
Like,
you know, but that, I mean, that's science, isn't it? You know, your bars are longer, so it takes.
But what I'm saying is, there's no geometry differences really. The rake and trail are the same. The front frame is, you know, everything is almost identical, and yet the difference in the ride is dramatic. It's massive.
So obviously, price is a factor in this as well. The Panigale is 25 grand.
Near enough, yeah.
And this is 20 grand.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of struggling to see where the extra 5 grand's gone.
Yeah, fairings.
Yeah, but a bit of plastic.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is weird.
5 grand. I mean, on the face of it, when you look at it individually, you go, 20 grand for that bike. Well, it's too much money.
And the engine internal components are exactly the same?
Almost identical, yeah.
Almost, apart from obviously gearings and stuff.
Yeah. So you get the same wheels, the same brakes, the same suspension, same exhaust. I mean, pretty much everything is there, and yet you pay 5 grand less. So only Bologna will know.
So obviously both these bikes have got wings,
Yeah.
the 2020 buzzword.
I'd rather have KFC wings than Ducati wings. But, you know, they serve a purpose. They're there to win races. It obviously works. The science is there. And me and you have both felt the wings work on other bikes. Obviously, you know, we've back-to-backed them on other tracks, but you've ridden it in Bahrain. You felt the difference.
Yeah.
I personally love the look. I've obviously come from a racing background, love racing. There's nothing wrong with it. I love it. You know, there would be an option. It'd be nice to have an option not to have them.
Yeah.
Just to satisfy the people on the interwebs who go, oh God, the bloody wings. It's the wings. Get the wings
Well,
off.
you could just buy a V2.
Yeah.
But then, and I think on that bike, yes, it's got a purpose. I don't think on this 4 wings.
Well, this is it. So there's 28 kilos downforce at 130 miles an hour. Now, not being funny, I don't care how big your balls are. If you're doing 130 miles an hour on the road, you're either going to be dead by the time you get to there or arrested. So I don't really see.
And it's not like it's unrideable without
No,
the
exactly.
wings. So
No.
it's kind of a bit pointless.
Yeah.
And I think this bike would look a lot prettier without them, personally.
Again, totally subjective because
It
I
is.
like them. Actually like the look of them, but.
And also, obviously, if you want to put your Doris on the back,
Exactly.
this is, you know,
Yeah.
it is a Ducati, so there is going to be, you know, females everywhere slipping
Snail
over on their
trails.
own, and their own fanny batter, trying to get on the back of it. So,
Oh, oh.
but even if you are a loner, then at least you can still put luggage and stuff on this. Yes, you can get a different modification tail for that, but it's a bit of a faff. This is a more practical, enjoyable bike to ride on the road.
100%.
So yeah, massive thank you to WM Snell who lent us the Panigale today. Massive thanks to them. That was really good. And obviously Ducati UK for the Streetfighter
V4S.